Welcome to 30-Minute Reviews. I am Adam. So, I'm waiting for prescription. Figured might as well record an episode about some news that broke today. Just to pass the time and not devote too much time to it in the regular episode, because the regular episode is going to be pretty packed this week for the Halloween episode. I got a documentary, we got Frankenstein, we got other things. So, I'm just going to do a quick one about a piece of news that broke today. Now, this is a piece of news that isn't necessarily new. Last year, Forbes ran an article about it around the time Elseworlds came out, saying that Elseworlds could also be serving as a backdoor pilot for a possible Superman and Lois Lane TV show. And the thing is, too, some people on the internet who pride themselves on being able to pick things out had had said that this was a possibility. And that, there's a lot of positive fan reaction to Tyler Hoechlin's Superman. Then they were introducing Lois Lane, and it's like, why would they introduce Lois Lane in Elseworlds if they weren't going to backdoor pilot it at some point? So that was speculated last year. Then today, news broke that in active development is Superman and Lois, which is a spinoff on the CW of Supergirl, about Superman and Lois Lane. And basically it was going to be a family drama about, with Lois Lane and Superman in the leads. Which is interesting because I like this thing they're doing where it's like we're taking superheroes to use them as a medium to tell stories, to tell really emotional, character-driven stories. In a way, it's kind of like Joker in that sense, where it's like we're taking the character and using that as a vehicle to tell an interesting story. But it's kind of the complete opposite at the same time. Now, the reason why I wanted to do an episode about this is because I didn't want to bog down the episode that I'm recording either Wednesday or Thursday for Thursday of this week with this whole editorial, for lack of a better word. Let's discuss some of the the discourse that's going to happen in the wake of this announcement. In the wake of this announcement, people are going to use this as vindication, saying Supergirl is going to be canceled and be replaced with this new show. Now, let's take a quick moment to discuss what the issue with this is. Number one, at the end of this year, when the 2019-2020 cycle comes to an end, when it comes to a close, there are at least two vacancies. Two mainstay vacancies on the CW schedule. Arrow is leaving, and Arrow has been running since 2012. And after 13 seasons, Supernatural is leaving, which was the very early 2000s when that show started. If it's 13 years... No. Oh my god, it's 2019. So, late 2000s, when that show would have started. Every once in a while, it kind of just dawns on you that it's almost 2020, and you're like, holy crap. And 2008 wasn't like 3 years ago. So, what happened is, these are two giant fake vacancies that are here. Now, Arrow's quote-unquote replacement is going to be Green Arrow and the Canaries, a spinoff about Mia Smoke and, Mia and, Laurel from Earth 2, and Dinah and all that. That's going to be the quote-unquote replacement for Arrow. This still leaves a giant ratings kind of hole for the CW, because it's been kind of a staple of the network to keep Supernatural going. And because it's got a huge fan base online. So what do you do to replicate that? Is I think Superman could take that spot, and that's really what it comes down to. Is that they need a replacement for the ratings of Supernatural. They're not going to go to another network for. And that's going to be, the interesting thing with that. They're going to take Superman, put it into that spot. I would be incredibly surprised if it doesn't take the time slot of Supernatural to try and do that, because it looks like it's kind of trying to go for that same audience in a sense, where it's like, it doesn't have the paranormal aspect that Supernatural did, but it still has, at the core of Supernatural, is family. From what I know. I've watched one episode of Supernatural my entire life. But from what I know about Supernatural, from reaction online and what that family seems to be the core aspect of the show. It's the relationship of these two brothers, and the people around them, and how their family, and, family. I'm going to keep saying family over and over again, but you get the point. Family seems to be the most important aspect of this show. So, by doing that, and then we're going to do the story of Superman with Clark and Lois, and we're going to presumably have John as a young child. It opens up a lot. It opens up a lot of storytelling opportunities, and it's interesting. The other thing that's going to happen, and I want to take a minute to address this now. I tweeted about this briefly a little while ago, where they discuss, I think one of the things that we need to take into consideration about this whole situation is the use of the word replacement. And that's something that's used a lot. Now, let's take into consideration how many appearances Tyler Hoechlin's Superman has had in total in Supergirl prior to this. I think it's been about 6 episodes, 2 Elseworlds, 2-part finale of season 2, maybe 1 appearance in season 3, I don't quite remember. So let's say conservatively 7 appearances out of soon to be 100 episodes. It'll be a little over 100 episodes when the season ends, and they're getting a spinoff. Now, say for argument's sake, it's not likely to happen because the show is the number 3 show on, it's the number 2 Arrowverse show, and this year it's number 3 because of Batwoman being number 1. It's the number 3 this year, number 2 in previous years Arrowverse show. It's like the number 4 show on the network, now number 5. A show that ranks that highly on network ratings and does that well and has that large of an audience, as small as an audience is, it's in consideration for the network it's on, it does well. They cancel it in favor of a character who's had 5 appearances. So let's put that into consideration. Let's say I'm trying to think of a good example of someone else on that show that they could have done. Let's say they canceled Supergirl, or they had a Superman show. We're gonna flip it completely. Superman show, same situation. It's the number 4 show on the network, number 2 Arrowverse show, number 3 Arrowverse show now. No, number 1 in this situation, the discourse would not be, look at how terrible the ratings are. It would be, they would be making it, people could point out, look at how, people could make the argument that people make now incorrectly and say, look at how low the ratings are, but not taking into consideration that it's not a major network show. It's a CW show, and CW has a smaller market share than CBS, ABC, NBC, all of that. People will be like, look, it's the number 2 show on the network, look at X, Y, and Z. And that's the correct way to look at it. You have to look at it in terms of where it is on the network, because that's what the network president cares about. At the end of the day, they sell their ad space to advertisers based on how many viewers are there. And at the end of the day, if it's not pulling viewers compared to the rest of the network, compared to the rest of the shows, that's when it gets canceled. Also into consideration is CW Seed and CW app, where it's ad-supported, so the advertisers are still getting money from that, and those ratings don't get counted with Nielsen. But all of that is neither here nor there. So, say Superman has a show, starts the same time as Supergirl did. Same ratings, everything's exactly the same. Now, in this year, Supergirl had 5 appearances on Superman. She had a small appearance in Elseworlds, and now they're going to cancel Superman, and they're going to put Supergirl on TV. People would be screaming bloody murder. The same people who will presumably be saying, thankfully, they're replacing Supergirl with Superman in this case, would be screaming, this is social justice warrior propaganda, this is political correct bullshit. There'd be all kinds of vitriol being spit about this show before the show even comes out. But now we flip it, and it's Superman could possibly be replacing Supergirl in this fantasy world where this is happening, where Supergirl is, not the number 4 show on the network, in their heads, and it's like, well, look at the ratings. It's like, well, the ratings don't really matter. And a lot of times they cherry pick the ratings to be like, well, in live views it didn't do well. It's like, yeah, no shit. The show going up against Sunday Night Football, and number one, the target audience for Supergirl and Sunday Night Football are virtually very different. But that said, in a lot of cases, in a show that in the current place, you don't have to watch Supergirl live. You do have to watch a football game live. Because Supergirl you can watch on the CW app the next day. Supergirl you can DVR and watch it the next day. Football and things like that, sporting events tend to have more of a group enjoyment than episode 4 of season 5 of Supergirl. Where, people are going to tend to use their televisions and they're going to use their live viewer time, for lack of a better word, to view a sporting event. Someone else in their household might do that, and it might be a concession that gets made. Like, oh, I'll DVR the TV show to watch a sporting event, and I can't tell you how many times that's happened in my life, where we'll DVR something because the Rangers are on TV in the middle of the week, or we'll DVR something on Thursday because the Giants are playing a Thursday night game. But that's how it works. And that's these things don't take into consideration, is that they don't take into consideration DVR views. They don't take into consideration all of that. Now, the ratings do take that into consideration, but the people who analyze the ratings to make it look as bad as possible intentionally omit those to make them look worse. Now, I'm going to wrap this up because really I'm going on longer than I expected to on this, but I think it's worth noting that I don't think that this show is going to be replacing Supergirl. I don't think Supergirl is going to be canceled in the way that people are disappointingly hoping it would. Because here's the thing. Season 4 of Supergirl was the best season 4 of any of the CW shows. The CW superhero shows. It was better than Flash. It was better than Arrow. It was better than Legends. It's the strongest season 4 to date. I would argue it's the strongest season of Supergirl. I would argue it's the strongest season. It's in the conversation with season 1 of The Flash and season 2 of Arrow and season 5 of Arrow. And yeah, like Legends has found their footing by the time season 4 happened, but they haven't quite, nailed it yet. But I don't think that, I think a lot of people were, I don't know if I want to say turned off by it, but didn't give it a chance because they felt themselves in the antagonists. And they felt like they were being personally attacked. Because, like, Benjamin Lockwood is Ben Shapiro in a more active role in the nonsense he spews. So, let's just give this a chance. Let's, remove yourself from the equation when you watch this show. It's, season 4 of Supergirl was an excellent dissection of how quickly a society can devolve to genocide with the right push. And it's so well done. It deserved the Saturn Award it got. But I feel like people need to give it a chance to do that. The CGI isn't great on a lot of these shows, but if you need the CGI to look good for you to like it, I don't know what to say to that. On one hand, it's yeah, you want things to look realistic, but on the other hand, it's it's superficial at best. The storytelling is what's important. And the storytelling was phenomenal. Supergirl's the most consistent of the shows on the CW, but it doesn't have the, It doesn't have the, it's only number 3 because of people constantly attacking it, I feel like. And despite what people are saying about Batwoman being a quote-unquote failure, it isn't. Batwoman has not been a failure. Despite people, ranting to the contrary. Batwoman has consistently done well in ratings. Only 1 week out of 3 so far, slipping out of number 1 spot on the network. And it's and again, when people analyze it, it's it only did 1.6 million viewers, and it's yeah, but you gotta look at the CW numbers. And CW numbers, you can't even compare to prior series premieres. Because at the time that Arrow premiered, you needed to watch it live. Or DVR it. When The Flash premiered, there was less of a need to watch it live. but you still needed to DVR it. Now that streaming's come along, every year there's more people who stream it, so live viewership is less important. And the L+7 gets increasingly important because that's the people who are watching it in a week before the next episode airs. So like last night I DVR'd Supergirl because certain situation allowed me to DVR it and watch it last night. So that would have been included in, the L+1. Batwoman I'm going to watch today when I go home. So I'll be included in the L+3. Had I not watched it today or tomorrow, and I waited until Thursday or something, it would have been in the L+7. And that's why you need to take this into consideration is, at the end of the day, the advertisers don't care when they get their money, when they get the people viewing the ad, because they're getting their money's worth. As long as they get someone watching the ad, they could be L+30 for all they care. Someone is watching the ad. Someone is taking the time to go and watch the show. They're watching the ad. CW gets paid by the advertiser. Advertiser might get that converted into a sale. And that's what's important here at the end of the day. If we're talking advertisers and we're talking ratings, that's what's important. So we'll wrap it up there for today. Thursday we'll have our special episode for Halloween. I think we're going to have special theme music, hopefully. We'll be talking about a documentary I saw on Netflix I'm going to watch either tonight or tomorrow. And it's going to be a fun episode. I'm going to talk about the Star Wars Rise of Skywalker trailer. And we'll be back with that on Thursday of this week. And have a great rest of your week.